Happy Doggo Records.
Welcome to the dog episode. First of
Yes.
first of one,
First of one.
probably.
And might be the last day of my life. I may irritate someone.
By not liking dogs enough.
Love dogs.
Huh.
I'm interested in the psychology of dog owners.
Oh. Well, I mean, dog owners are a lot less likable than dogs.
100%. And timely as it may be, I have an anecdote.
I was going to ask you about stories, so tell me your anecdote and then I'll ask you about stories.
7 o'clock this morning, probably 6:50. I'm running. It's barely daylight. You can barely see. Um, I'm running down a street. I see. I think he's a surgeon. He has that look, and I want to explain why I say that. But said surgeon is walking a little white puffy dog. I think it was a Bichon. Beautiful little dog. Crazy dog was crazy. So the guy stands on the sidewalk. Um, the dog is on one of those extender leashes that it can run at will, right? He's walking the dog, but the dog gets in the grass part by the road. Well, the dog spazzes out because I'm running. I guess that's not unusual, kind of, but nips at my heels, like nips at the bottom part of my leg. And I like just kind of swerve out into the street, look at the owner. This clown is smiling at me. It's a mixture of two things. One is, uh, see, basically this thing that just happened, you have no recourse because it was a dog. And the second part of it was this goofy, I'm glad your day got interrupted look. It was the most bizarre, and I instantly thought, "Oh, cool. We're talking about dogs today. I'm coming in hot."
Um, well, I think it's safe to say a lot of people don't like dogs, but you like dogs.
I love dogs. I think dogs are I think in a lot of instances we don't deserve them.
Can you rank these in order, please? Um, from thing you like the most to thing you like the least. Dogs, people.
So this is a two-spot ranking.
Yeah, that was it. That was the whole list. Please rank order.
I like people more for sure. And that's another point that I want to make. Here is what no one I've ever been friends with has ever said. Ever. And I wouldn't be friends with them if they did. I like my dog more than I like people. My dog is my best friend. Okay, fine.
Wait, has anybody you're not friends with said that to you?
I've heard that, not to me, but I've heard that statement made a lot.
Can you specify where you heard that statement made? I'm just
Um,
curious now.
Former mother-in-law.
That's a loaded
Yeah,
descriptor right there.
former mother-in-law and her ilk. I'll just leave it at that. Um, so yeah,
Of all the things I'm going to hassle you about on this episode, that's probably I'm just going to leave this one here and move on to the next thing to hassle you about. So you like people more than you like dogs.
yeah. And here's so when I say that I'm interested in the psychology of people, of dog owners, this is why, is because I think the dog is a phenomenal creature. It's an amazing creature. And it's had a utilitarian relationship with us as a species for a long, long time. I think people unpack all their junk on said dog and excuse themselves of being a functioning human being and use the dog as the go between for that behavior. That's what I think.
Can you be a little more specific about what thing is being excused and put on a dog?
The inability to fit in or to make meaningful contacts with your species. So I am not very social. I am
Not you, Terry, you hypothetical dog owner.
hypothetical dog owner. It's hard for me to fit in because I'm weird as hell. And uh, because I'm weird as hell, I've got this crutch that I'm going to leverage and say it's my best friend and blah, blah, blah. And that gives me cover for continuing in my weirdness and not having self awareness and reflection about why I'm weird and can't make friends.
So you take a bit of an issue with someone who decides to substitute a dog for a personality.
100%. And I also take it that there's an extension to that, and this is the broader point. And I'm 100% serious about this. I'm not joking at all. I also take issue with said dog or pet, whatever, as a substitute for human relationships.
What would you say to what would you say to a statement that most people are mostly uh like not great at human relationships?
Be better.
True or false? Are most people good at human relationships?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I
now what if we think about this from an evolutionary biology point of view? So the relationship just means, you know, it doesn't have to look like some conceptual ideal that we have. It just means that we interact socially with one another in a way that is effective at something. Basically, are people better at socializing than chimpanzees, or about the same at socializing as chimpanzees?
um I don't know.
Like,
I'm
so when the dog nipped you and the weirdo neighbor with the dog, uh, like there was an interaction there. There was some nonverbal communication. There was
oh
body
yeah.
language. There were gestures. There were norms that were expressed. There were mores. There were conventions that were both bucked and adhered to. There's a lot packed into this little interaction. So I think about I live someplace where there's a lot of people. So I see lots and lots and lots of people. Most of them I don't know. But if I lived someplace with very few people and I saw another person, I would greet the other person on the basis that they were a person and so am I. And here we are in a place where there are not many other people. This could be a desert island, or it could be southwestern Virginia, or all the parts of Kentucky except the two cities. Uh, and so
I'm sorry, I can't. That sentence is gold. That that sentence is the infamy of what we've done so far.
I,
That
th- I
that was
think that
fantastic.
I think when I hear stories from you about surgeons, Bichons on a run, I feel like you have something of a pedestal or something of expectations of social interactions that are a higher level. I'm not saying that this is good or bad, simply an observation about the sophistication and the robustness of that interaction. But like our lizard brain just wants to wave to that other person who exists and is a person. And then we also quickly want to evaluate, is that person going to try and take the food that I want to eat? That's basically it. So if we can survive almost all interactions with other people on the level of that person is a friend, not a threat, or that person is a threat, not a friend, how do I avoid the how do I avoid the threat by finding safety in the numbers of another person, and how do I get past that? I think most of our interactions with people come back to lizard brain interaction, and I think a lot of it, even when you have like people getting in a tiff over an email. Let's make this corporate. So somebody's complaining about somebody else's email etiquette. It all comes back down to, is this person a threat? Are they going to steal my food? Where do I find the other people to back me up?
Well, buried in that explainer, the first part of that was exactly what I'm interested in. And that's yeah, I think human interaction should be higher level. I think we have complex minds capable of rational and logical thought, and we don't use that. I think there's no need to be to artificially want a relationship with everybody that you meet, but there's a decorum to public interaction with people that I'm apparently one of the few that got the memo it exists. And I think I see it frustrates me that that's the case. I think manners and etiquette and that sort of thing, I absolutely think this is a big problem in our society. I absolutely think it's a big problem. And I think the dog owner is not the main part of the problem, but I think there's a higher my experience, limited experience is that it's not unique to find dog owners with an abnormal psychology around how to interact with other humans.
I think this is definitely close to your most out to lunch take that I've heard, and I love it because I want to know all the whys.
Here's
Did
a
it,
here let me give you a hypothetical and get your take on this. Okay? If you come to my house and my child runs up to you and jumps on you and sniffs your crotch and sniffs all over you and licks you and jumps on you, you're probably going to be like, dude, you know, what are you doing?
I
It
would I would be like, why is your child behaving like a dog? Is what I would say.
okay. So my thing is, there's no distinction. I don't care what the species or what the thing is. Like, don't let those things happen. People have no sense. There's no filter in someone's brain that says, uh this person's in nice clothes headed out for dinner. They probably don't want my dog jumping all over them. Like, fix it. If you wouldn't want someone's child behaving to you in a certain way, just because it's a dog doesn't mean that's acceptable.
I
And
do
that's
think I think we're not going to find a lot of detractors who like a dog jumping on them. There's a bunch of different dog jumps here. So let's be specific. You got your big dog jump, where this is basically a dog that's trying to give you a hug. So they'll try and get
yeah.
both paws on the shoulders, lick the face directly. I feel like I've been hit by a barrel full of dog when
And
that happens.
you smell like it too.
Smells aside, I don't want to be that level of friendly with another creature most of the time.
Agreed.
So that's the big dog jump. Then there's the little dog jump where they kind of just get you with the claws and you're getting scratched.
Repeatedly.
And they like they'll bark and they'll scratch and they'll jump and those ones I'm like I would like this dog to calm down and not be so excitable right now. I've entered a house or I've entered a yard or I'm running down the street and this thing has got off a leash and is chasing me. So I think we'd be hard pressed to find someone who embraced the dog jump as a positive thing.
Okay, so
I'm
em-
trying to present sort of like the counterfactual here, the opposite point of view. Terry hates the dog jump. Is there any defender of said thing?
but here that's not an expansive enough counterfactual. The counterfactual I think that covers all the basis is, yeah, I don't think you're going to find someone that embraces the dog jump, but that doesn't go far enough. How many people will you find, however, who don't stop the dog jump or prohibit the dog jump, whatever that requires? That's the more expansive part of the counterfactual. It's, oh, he probably doesn't like being jumped on by my 75-pound dog or repeatedly, scratched and clawed by my little yappy dog. But so what?
The people that let their dog jump on me like their dog more than they like me.
And that is my point.
So, I feel like that's just the state of affairs. They like the dog more than me, and that's just how it is. It's going to put a little wedge in the relationship. Not a lot of wedge, but a little wedge.
Here's my rule, and I'm not special. It's not like it's not like my rules are whatever. It doesn't matter. But my rule is I'll go somewhere where there's a dog, and if the dog's cool, I'm cool. I will not go back if the dog is not cool.
How do dogs become cool?
Chill,
Selective
like it.
breeding.
No, like this training, attentive training. Same way with parenting that you achieve things um, with your child is training, like consistent training and
I don't think you would like my kids because they're wild like a dog's wild. They jump, they scream. One of them poops all over the place uncontrollably. I mean, they're wild boys.
and that's perfectly fine. My point is if I came to your house, I doubt you'd stand there and like watch your kid sniff my crotch or jump up on my shoulders or all those things. I doubt
Well, I
you
mean,
would.
I would just want to point out that um, human kids are humans and dogs are dogs. That's the only thing I would point out here. So it's more weird for a human kid to sniff your crotch than a dog to sniff your crotch.
I don't think so.
I think that is a scientifically difficult take to defend.
I I
You could say that you don't want a dog to sniff your crotch, but the natural inclination for a dog to sniff your crotch or pee on your leg versus a human peeing on your leg is really uncommon. So, like socially or otherwise, it's uncommon. Humans generally just don't pee on each other's legs for any reason. But a dog definitely pees on a person's leg over and over and over and over again. Even domesticated, like well trained dogs still occasionally will pee on a leg.
so you're explaining something that I agree with. There are differences obviously in the DNA and in embedded behaviors in said DNA of humans versus dogs.
Sometimes when you say obviously, I just need to make really, really sure, even though you said obviously.
But the point is, and I give you that, I totally agree. We're in full agreement. A dog doesn't know, hey, like a dog that's what it does. As the owner of said dog, if your dog sniffs crotches, do something. Do something. That's my point.
Do you ever, speaking of urine, do you ever feel like you're pissing into the wind?
Have you ever heard that Jerry Jeff Walker song, Pissing in the Wind?
No, I know the Jim Croce song about don't mess around with Jim.
Yeah, don't tug on Superman's cape, whatever. No, you've got to. The Jerry Jeff Walker song is the best punk rock song ever written, hands down. I'll wrestle anybody to prove it or get beat and whatever. But it is an awesome song,
What's it called? Pissing in the wind?
Pissing in the Wind. Yeah, it is fantastic. Anyway, yeah, sometimes I do. And it's especially bad too. And this is an interesting segue, I think. Might as well just burn it all down while I'm at it. A lot of single females are very much in sort of this sphere that we're discussing.
You mean they don't take care of their dogs?
Yes, and the dog is a substitute for a whole bunch of things. And I think this is my weirdest take ever. I think it's not weird actually. There's a lot of math on this. I don't think that's unintentional.
Right.
So I'll leave it at that.
I'd like to give you an opportunity to partially walk back a generalization that single women don't take care of their dogs
I
and put their personality into their dogs. And the basis on which I'd like to give you this opportunity is a rough estimate of how many single women there are just in the United States. So we have a
yeah,
population of what, 450 million now? Is that about right?
not single women
No,
totally.
total.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know the number of single women, but
yeah,
say like half of those people are adult. So now we're at like 225 million. Half of those are female. So now we're like 100-ish million. Of those, maybe a quarter are single women, maybe less. So we're talking about minimum 10 million women just in the United States. Do you want to make a statement about 10 million women? publicly on YouTube and your podcast. Are you sure you want to do that?
I think the statement I was making was about single women substituting dogs for other relationships. That was the point I was making, not about how well they do or don't take care of their dog.
Okay, so you want to make a statement that
That was a leap.
10 million humans tend to put their dog as their personality.
No, substitute their dog for other human relationships.
I would give you one more chance here to say you want to make a sweeping statement about 10 million women of whom you have met less than 1%. Are
Oh,
you sure you want to make a generalization here?
yeah. I will say this. Here's the generalization that I will make. Data from the American Kennel Club shows that female dog owners, especially those without children, have driven record high levels of dog ownership in recent years. Around 30% of all millennial women are estimated to fall into this category. So
I don't think you should be dating millennial women much. Maybe a
I
few.
I am not, but whatever that number is not that far off of women in my dating age range.
I'm willing to give you that you've had a disproportionate number of interactions with single women who've substituted a dog for a personality. I'll give you that.
Hold on. Substituted dogs for another human relationship, not personality.
All right. I think I'm taking issue with the generalization, less with the specific nature of how you're disparaging this class of people.
It's not okay. So that's a good point. I'm not disparaging that. What is probably the number one qualifier that we use on this show?
Probably. We use the word probably a lot.
I'm not
We
making.
also use I'm guessing. We also use I'm
Okay,
guessing pretty
so
regularly.
I'd say this one is higher. It's not a value assessment. It's not a value judgment. It's an objective assessment. Just numbers. And that's why I read the statistic that I just read.
Right.
I'm not making it's not a pejorative per se or a value judgment. That's for whoever to determine. I'm saying it's my experience, as is the case, and this is the point that I was making earlier, as in the broader context of what we're talking about, people substitute their dog for other human relationships.
Let me give you an easy one
All right.
where I'm agreeing with you here too. I have no difficulty whatsoever imagining a millennial woman with a small dog on TikTok who has substituted that dog for good human relationships. I easily have that in my mind. I got a very detailed picture of this imaginary person. It's
Okay.
right there. It's right there in my mind's eye. I got it.
You just don't want to put any math to that image.
Well, because it's a story. I've told myself a story of this person. And the fact that I can recall this image of a person, it may be because that is accurate to a class of people. It may also be that that's just the thing that happens to be in my imagination. In my particular case, it's because my TikTok algorithm keeps suggesting me millennial women who have dogs. That's a me problem. That's
We
not a them problem.
we better have a word with Mrs. Waddell.
And the more time, the more I look, like the TikTok algorithm is secret, but it's crazy. The things that get you stuff fed that is like the thing that you already looked at. So it's obvious stuff like who are you following, what are you commenting on, but time spent on a particular
Oh yeah.
piece of content. It's did you even look at the comments of the content? Did you how many times did you scroll through the comments? Did you like any of the comments? Like any interaction whatsoever, including passive interaction, that all gets fed. So if I'm looking at like pick a name for this hypothetical person, the woman, not the dog. The dog's name is Fifi.
Sarah.
That's my wife's name. Pick a different name.
Is it really?
Yeah, with an H.
Uh let's hear. What's her name? Um
Were you going to say
Claire.
Doja Cat? Oh, Claire. Perfect. Okay, so
Yeah.
Claire and Fifi are on my feed, And like if I'm observing Claire and Fifi, and here goes a bunch more stereotypes. I'm just going to come at them fast and strong. There's like some product that they're trying to sell, and I don't care what the product is, but it's like watching a car crash, and I'm like, what is this person doing with a dog and an arm and some influencer thing? And I'm like, is their job to be an influencer, or is this just a side hustle where they get a little bit of money on the side? How does this person have a million views of this video that's just them talking at the camera with the dog? And then I get into like major self-confidence problems because I agreed to do a podcast of me staring at a camera and then putting that on YouTube. And now I'm the same as Claire and Fifi. There's nothing different between me and them. And then I think, well, maybe I am different from them because maybe they have a bunch of money from all their influencer dollars that they've got, and maybe I'm still the problem. So then my final conclusion, I have two final conclusions. One came from you and one was before you. My first final conclusion from myself is stop worrying so much about other people. That's not supposed to be poignant. It's just like, there's nothing I can do about it. Don't worry about them. Just stay in your lane and worry about yourself. And again, not supposed to be poignant. This is more of a self-help, like pull myself up out of the click hole. Yours is, well, if you're worried about this stuff, just think about nothing. Go meditate, go on a walk, do nothing, stare into space, close your eyes, take your pick. Just clear your mind. And once your mind is clear, Claire's not going to be on your mind. There'll be no more Claire. Claire will poof off into the TikTok servers, and you'll never know Claire again.
2021 spending on all pet
I
products
knew
and
I knew this was
services,
coming.
99 effing billion with a B.
I knew that was coming.
Spending estimate on pet supplies, over the counter medicines, 10 billion with a B. Estimated portion going to dogs, toys, and supplies, around 6 billion with a B.
What's the worst industry?
Dude, I don't know, man, but
Is this one,
like,
is this one up there for you?
it's just okay. So,
Are you judgmental about this, or is your
yeah,
mind just
yeah,
boggled?
it's boggled. I'm judgmental. I think there's so much hypocrisy embedded in what I just read. We've got human kids in Appalachia and inner city, urban. Pick your state. Pick your state. We have lots of places all over this country for humans to eat better or have better medicine or to be taken care of properly. That's my point. Like, and again, these are not value judgments. For me, it's like a really, really sobering estimate of priorities. And it makes me take, because I have certain demographics in my mind. You've got Claire and Phoebe in your mind from TikTok.
Fifi, but Phoebe's
Fifi.
actually probably better, to be honest with you. She's named after
Yeah.
Phoebe from Friends.
Phoebe might be Claire, by the way. Like but the names could be reversed. Like Phoebe could be the mom.
Once it's Phoebe and Claire, you can substitute the dog and the person
Exactly.
easily.
Exactly. And I
Fifi
see,
and Claire, not as much.
yeah, Fifi is more a child's dog. Phoebe
Or an old
is,
person's dog.
yeah, yeah. I,
Have you?
I,
How much do you know about Yorkshire Terriers?
I don't know much, but I had schnauzers and they were a
These little
terrier
little
breed.
guys. Yeah,
Yeah, Yorkies.
Yorkies. Yeah,
Yeah.
all my favorite Yorkies are very tightly bonded with their male owners. I know three Yorkies pretty well. One of them, uh, dog's name is Harley. Owner's name is Charlie. Like, no joke. And the dog and the man are inseparable. They go on rides around town. They do porch sitting together. I mean, these two are like peas and carrots. Another one. This is from way back. Guy. This was way pre-COVID. So I had an office job, and I worked with the dog owner in an office, and her husband had a general contractor job and drove around and worked from home. So he worked from his truck and from his house or apartment or wherever they lived. And the dog, whose name I can't remember, but was definitely a Yorkie, because the dog was at home all day with the husband, was much more attached to the husband. And because the husband was home alone without any social interaction with other people 50% of the day, I mean, this dog was his ride or die. And they would go get food, they would go to the job site, The dog and the man were like, I need another analogy than peas and carrots. They were closer than peas and carrots. And the wife was very unhappy about this because it was her dog, but because she had to go to work all day, the dog then became besties with her husband.
So here you've
And
led.
hold on, you gotta
Go
the
ahead.
last one. So
Yeah.
we're talking about Yorkies. These are little tiny dogs. The last one, this dog is my nephew. If you consider animals to be part of the family in that way, which I usually don't. Anyway, so this dog, it was two dogs. It was a big boxer and a Yorkie adopted at the same time. And the Yorkie yaps all the time and is annoying. And the boxer was the big manly dog, but then the little dog, three boys in the family, and the dog would be used as a shotgun and a bazooka toy. So they pick the dog up by both sets of legs and then they like with the dog. And this was a house full of manly men with the manly man dog. And I gotta say that little dog was just as well loved as the big dog by the manly men as the manly dog was. So
Yeah.
I feel like go get a Yorkie. I wish I could find a Yorkie that I know wouldn't bark a lot, and then I'd get one. But they're built to bark, so it's hopeless.
Let me ask you this.
No, I've never actually held up a dog and mock used it as a machine gun before.
Yeah.
Not even that dog.
Peter would like a word with you.
Yeah,
Let me ask you this serious question. Do you think the dog, hear the whole question. Do you think the dog unconditionally loves the person independent of what the dog is dependent on said person for? So I love my children. I love my family. I love people. Like, I have strong feelings of affinity for you, and I depend on you for nothing. Like we've been in person like 4 times, five
yeah.
times. I love people. Like I genuinely love people if they're interesting and funny, and there's uh, uh, do you think dogs have that same characteristic, or are the dogs so over time in the story of the Yorkie going with its male owner when it was the female person's dog? The dog knows who's feeding it every morning. It's not like it's free to go out and roam and kill like its wolf predecessors. Like it's dependent on a person. And is that love conditional on its survival?
I have an opinion about dogs love that will brand me with dog lovers as being a non-dog lover myself. So I'm gonna put it out there and take the ire of both PETA
Take it off me.
and dog lovers. So I don't have any way of knowing, but I don't think that dogs experience human love
I
in the
totally
way that
agree.
we project onto dogs.
I
I think
totally agree.
I think every piece of evidence that a human gives me that dogs experience love is a projection. It's a projection of human experiences, human interpretations of a situation, etc. I think that is a projection of human love onto the dog. Now, on the flip side of this, or like the to tone this down slightly, I think dogs experience dog love. So I think there are dogs that are mostly loyal and self-interested, and are
Survival,
are
survival.
but there are dogs that are affectionate towards the hand that feeds them, and there are dogs that are affectionate above and beyond the hand that feeds them and are loving, affectionate dogs, right? Not every dog. Probably the majority of dogs, like I mean, most dogs have the capacity to exhibit dog love, and I think there's a difference between dog love and dog survival instinct. But I
Ah,
still think dog love's not the same as human love.
no, I think it's conditioning. That's what I think. I think dogs are the cleverest species in that respect on the face of the earth. Cats don't give a rat's. They just don't care. Oh, here's a hypothetical for me. Tell me how this is going to go. Okay, you own a dog. I'm your next door neighbor. Okay,
Yeah,
you own a dog. Spot.
a Yorkie named Porky.
A Yorkie named Porky. Phoebe. A Yorkie named
Okay,
Sarah.
okay,
A Yorkie named Sarah. No H.
yeah.
Uh, You and your wife have to go to work early. You're in a rush. You got to get the kids to school. You're out the door. I come over every day and feed the dog and walk the dog. And because you both work long shifts and the kids have extracurricular activities, I come over in the evening and feed the dog and walk the dog. And I walk the dog during the course of the day. Who is the dog going to exhibit love to?
You. And I'm not trying to make a bold point here.
But that is the point, though.
That I don't see that as particularly different from human love.
I I am not going to get anything from some people, a lot of people that I love is nebulous. All right. Have deep affection for. All right. I'm not going to get even my children and my family at this point. I am the one providing the things to the children. I love them unconditionally. I
Yeah.
love them dearly. I care for them dearly.
There are definitely cases of dogs who exhibit the dog version of unconditional love and attachment and social attachment in that way, be above and beyond. I will pick the one who feeds me. Definitely.
Do we know that? That's the point. Do we know that? Or is that a learned See, I think, here's another hot take. And you tried to pull the heat onto you and I want to have it. I think the dog is very clever in that it understands the mood of its owner and understands sort of the psychology of what it has to do to be in the good graces of its owner. It depends on that person for survival. I think if you're a type of person that you keep the drapes pulled until 3 and you're blue and you're a world, then your dog is going to lay its head on your leg and it understands your situation and is trying to accommodate that situation. Not across the board. Nobody has any math
I mean,
on this.
this is testable. I mean, I'm not going to do the test, but it is conceptually testable. All I need to do is find one of the many societies on earth that don't keep dogs as house pets or anything even approaching house pets. And if we can find one non-house pet dog that it's domesticated, but it's not a house pet, and that dog exhibits house pet like love, then we will know that dogs can exhibit dog love as opposed to pure self-motivated love.
But we don't know that that's love as we understand that
Well,
definition.
I think the issue is the nebulous nature of love. So if you're depending on defining
Fair.
love by motivation and all motivations are unknown and you're simply presuming based on all of human existence writing poetry about love, and being like, hey, I might not know it for sure, but it sure seems like an awful lot of people who've come before me have these other things that resonate with me about this concept of love. You don't know, but you got a pretty okay idea. So if I think the other way to verify this scientifically is we need to teach dogs to write poetry, and
Yeah,
then
for
the whole
sure.
thing will be resolved.
Or we need an AI.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas. I thought I was offended when you were making generalizations about, about millions of humans.
We need brain scan data on dogs and we need an AI to tell us what they're thinking. That's what I think.
Can I give a transition that generalizes from uh, unsolvable dog problems to unsolvable other problems of human observation? Because what you've really gotten to, I didn't think we were going to go here, but you really got down to, do dogs feel love? And I'm like, oh my lord, this is a subject that it's the much like love itself. All of humanity since we domesticated canines have been pondering whether dogs experience love. I don't know. This is a podcast, man. So here's another question. And I'm gonna ask you the question. It might be confusing at first, and then I'll tie it back together and make the generalization. Have you ever noticed how weird water is?
No, but I
It's
will say,
everywhere. It's everywhere. It's got three phases.
yeah.
Vapor all around us. We drink it, but we also breathe it. But we also can hammer it with a hammer if it's frozen. That's wild. And that's just one weird thing about water. Do you know what happened if ice, like most things, became more dense when it solidified and then went to the bottom of a pool of water instead of rising to the top and floating?
It would flood the planet.
No, it would end the planet. The ice would go to the bottom of the oceans, bottom of the lakes. All the rest of the water would evaporate. The ice would continue to build up. Then that ice would sublimate. We'd have no more water left. All because the water behaves like a normal substance and doesn't float on itself. But no, it floats on itself. Do you have any idea how wild that is?
So here's a water.
75% of you right now, inside that fleshy meat sack you call your skin, it's just water, man. It's just water. Those gooey eyeballs you don't want to touch,
Yeah.
just 75% water.
Here
It's
here
wild.
here's the water question for you that I want you. Do you call BS on this or not? So there's a thing going around Instagram, and it's been a long time. I'm probably like I'm getting 1980s stuff in today from an Instagram perspective. I'm behind the times. But this guy apparently did an experiment where he, on the container of water, drew sad faces or drew smiley faces, and then measured like the excitation activity of the H2O molecules in the water, or the polarity, some physical change in the molecule structure. And apparently, the smiley face, or the positively contained vessels, the ones that had been written with positive affirmations, had a much more. If you're listening to this at some point on the audio only version, go to YouTube at like minute 42, minute 41 and change, and watch Russ's face. That is exactly my reaction.
I can put it into sound. It's like this.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
why?
this wasn't like a dirty hippie at the local health food store. This was a scientist, like a researcher. Yeah. So there's your.
Okay, well, you kind of negated how I was going to wrap this up. The reason I'm bringing up how wild water is because human progress, society's progress, a lot of it comes down to which questions are we bothering to ask and
Yeah.
what stuff are we jaded and disinterested in.
Yeah.
So you're very interested in still, like, whether dogs feel love, how they interact with their people, blah blah blah. These are basically unresolved questions in humanity. By contrast, isn't water crazy? Like, it's kind of resolved. Like, we've experimented with it. We had alchemy. We considered it one of the humors. I think medicine is like, there's still more stuff to find out with water, but the basic obsession with water for its own sake. You pick a random person off the street, and it happens to be Terry. They just don't have a fascination with water for its own sake anymore.
Yeah.
I think that is
Unless they're thirsty.
that's what progress looks like. Is have we mostly stopped asking the same quasi unanswerable questions, or have we moved on with what things we consider magic versus what things do we consider sort of solved? And
Yeah.
it tracks with like kid to grown up, right? Like, so kid fascinated with water. How does it flow? How does it move? These are things that are worth being fascinated for a child. And then as you move on, you'll narrow your focus. You'll narrow your focus. You'll learn all kinds of things. You'll learn about water from your own observations. You'll learn about observation for its own sake. Eventually, you become a scientist who's putting smiley faces on different vessels to see how the water reacts to their. uh, but yeah, I think that looking at human progress as what do we not think about as magical, and what are we able to just say, no, I never think about how wild water is anymore. And eventually we'll probably be looking at AI that way. I can't believe I just said that. I never let me comment again on anything AI related.
I think your point is good. I think what I'm interested in, I wouldn't say fascinated, because frankly, I'm not, but I'm interested in I don't think it's unintentional. I'll just leave it at that. But I'm interested in the substitution of meaningful human relationships for dog relationships. And I'm interested in that dynamic, and not in a judgmental way, although I have opinions. I think healthy, vibrant people don't, there's a difference.
And
um,
I'm going to help you to the absolute best of my ability get to the most non-judgmental way to explore exactly that question.
get a dog.
We've got a lot of work ahead of us. Got a lot of work to do.
I will say this. I had too many schnauzers up until I had children. I had them for several years. I got the male. He was a big, beautiful miniature schnauzer and loved me, and just awesome dog named George. And I got another one from the same family, a female named Pearl, and they were very different. They were fun, and I loved them dearly. But George was with me for several years before I had a child. I had a child. George didn't like he's a terrier, didn't like the child, bit said child repeatedly. And that was the end of my experimentation with dogs and children.
Sorry, George.
Yeah.
You going to get a dog again?
I'm open to it. My only problem is my lifestyle right now. I'm not one of those people that would feel comfortable dropping a dog off at a kennel every time I go out of town.
No.
And I travel a lot for work. So, and for other reasons, for personal reasons, for pleasure. And I don't think that's responsible of me to get it. My daughter wants me to get one badly, but I don't think I'm at the right point in what I'm doing in life. I would love to have a dog, though.
All right. Next time we got a special guest, we'll have a dog on directly to debate Terry.
No, have a dog owner. We should
See that?
get we should get Claire. We should get Claire or Phoebe on.
If I can find a Claire, I'll bring a Claire.
Oh God, that's probably the end of me. That's my
Terry,
last day.
Terry, I have to say, thanks for this wild ride.
Yes.
Do it again tomorrow.
Have a good afternoon, man.
Bye, Terry.